In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front brakes on this Honda CR-V. These are going to be located behind the front wheels. Let's get into it. We're going to remove the wheel, use a 19mm socket, take the lug nuts off. Take the wheel off. Now before we take the caliper off, we're just going to crack the bleeder screw loose. Take the cover off, just pop that off. Use a 10mm wrench and maybe have a drain bucket underneath in case any fluid comes out. Just crack that free and just snug it up so none of the fluid comes out. We're going to take these two caliper bolts out. Use a 14mm socket. Take those out. Using a brake caliper hanger, take the caliper off. We're just going to hang the caliper from the coil spring. Just grab the brake pads, take those off. Loosen these two bolts up. Use a 19mm socket. Take those out. And slide the bracket off. We're going to remove this screw. I'm going to use an impact driver with a Phillips head screwdriver bit. You can try a Phillips head and see if you can loosen it up. Sometimes you can tap it with a punch first just to get it to loosen. There we go. Got it to loosen. I'll take that screw out. Just give the rotor a tap. Just don't hit the studs. You can slide it off. If you're still struggling, you can take some threaded screws and just thread into there and push the rotor out. Now we're going to clean up the hub surface. I'm going to use a wire brush, take off as much of the rust as possible. Take a little copper anti-seize and just give it a squirt, just to prevent future corrosion. That's good. Take the rotors, put them on backwards first. Take some brake parts cleaner and wipe these off. Flip it around. You want to make sure you get this hole lined up with the threaded hole. We'll clean this side. Brake parts cleaner. Wipe it with a rag. And take the screw. Get that lined up. Make sure the rotor's on there correctly. And just snug that down, not too tight. Now we're going to clean up the caliper bracket. I'm just going to use a straight blade screwdriver. Pocket screwdriver, take the clips off, just get underneath there, pop that off. We'll take a wire brush, just clean up any corrosion where the pad's going to sit. Looks good. Take a little silicone paste and just coat this area, or even brake caliper grease is good too. Not too much, just a thin coat. Take the new pad clip, anti-rattle clip, push those on, and we'll do the same on the other side. This is just going to prevent corrosion in the future, or slow down the corrosion. Push that down, that's good. Now we take the pins out. I'm just gonna take a pick, because these are stuck in here a little bit. Just try to get underneath the boot. There we go. Pull the pin out. Use a little brake parts cleaner. Wipe it down with a rag. Clean out the bore. Just use one of these pipe cleaner style wire brushes. That's good. If it's really bad, you can use some brake cleaner in there as well. Yeah, we'll use some silicone, just a thin coat. Push that on. And just to prevent the boot from trapping air, I'm just going to use the pick. Just hold that up while I push this all the way down. There we go. Make sure it seals. And we'll do the same on this one. Wipe that off. A little silicone. And just wire brush in here. And reinstall that. Wipe off the excess, make sure that seals, that's good. Now the brake pads, this one is going to go on the inboard side, and this is at the top of where the rotor digs in. So keep that in mind depending on what side you're working on. And there's these little clips that have to get installed on the pads. So get this lined up. Push that on like that. Just to make it easier, I'm going to use a pair of pliers. Push that on. And just push it all the way on. That's good. Make sure the brake pad's nice and clean. Spray a little brake clean if you got anything on it. All right, so all those clips are on and the caliper bracket is all cleaned up. Now we're going to install the bracket and then put the pads on. Take the caliper bracket, slide that over the rotor, get the bolts started. Tighten those down, and we're going to torque those bolts to 101 foot-pounds. Take the brake pads. The one with the warning indicator is going to be at the top on the inboard side. Get that lined up. All right. And the other one's going to go on the outside. And they're going to be springy like that because of those springs. That's good, that's normal. Now take the caliper off the hook. And we're gonna compress the caliper. So I'm gonna take my wrench, go over the bleeder. Then I'm gonna use a hose. This is optional. This just keeps some of the fluid from going all over the place. Just put that on. Loosen this up. Flip this around. Take a caliper compressing tool. And we're going to slowly compress the piston. As we compress the piston, you're going to see the brake fluid go through the hose. Just go nice and slow. All right, now the piston's pushed all the way in. Loosen up the tool. You can remove that. Flip this over. And tighten up the bleeder screw. Take the hose off. Just tighten this up the best you can while it's not on the bracket. Now we'll take the caliper, push the pads in, slide that in place, get the bolts started. Get those are started. Snug those down. Torque these bolts to 37 foot-pounds. If you need to, you can use some pliers on the slides if they're just spinning. But you should be able to just torque those. That's good. While the caliper's back on the bracket, snug the bleeder screw up. Make sure that's good. Put the cap on. Take some brake parts cleaner. And just clean up all the mess. Now put the wheel on. The lug nuts on. Snug these down. Now we're going to torque the lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Just go around again, double check. Now you want to pump the brake pedal nice and slow. There's going to be an air gap between the caliper piston and the brake pads. You're going to take care of that air gap until it feels good. Then we're going to check the fluid level. You want to wipe off the cap, the rag, clean that up. You can take the cap off, take a look at the level. On the cap, it should tell you what type of fluid to use. This says .3 or .4. With a fresh, clean brake fluid, you want to top it off up to the max line. Right about there. See where the max line is. Take the cap, line that up, twist it on. That was a quick and easy job. Now you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.